Morning, guys. Good morning. It is Thursday. We're here. Football starts. Ravens Chiefs in about 11 hours here. Man, so much to talk about with the Ravens and the Chiefs without going backwards. So that's my promise to you for the next. Oops, here we go. For the next 5 to 10 minutes, as I talk about this game, not going backwards. It's over with. We've talked about it enough. Thought about it enough. So my analysis is going to have nothing to do with the AFC Championship game. Let's just talk about tonight and what to expect. Not for the whole season, but just for tonight. Tonight's game is unique. I don't think it's going to be an indictment on what's going to happen in the whole season, but it's still, it counts. It's a big game, tiebreakers at the end of the year, and so forth. So let's start with when the Chiefs have the ball. When the Chiefs have the ball, what's going to be different this year than last year? What's their approach? Is there a different approach? They obviously added the speed wide receiver Xavier Worthy in the first round. They just added Juju Smith Schuster, and they bring back pretty much everybody else. Rasheed Rice, Kelsey, obviously their second tight end Noah Gray, who we got to watch out for him tonight. He's going to be, I think he's going to be a big part of their team this year. And they still have McCole Hardman. They got Sky Moore. The offensive line is where we got to pounce, especially on their tackles. That continues to be a weakness. They tried to address it in the offseason. I don't think it's fully addressed. I expect a quick passing attack. They got Pacheco in the backfield. He's fully healthy. They're going to want to feed him, but I think he's going to get the ball more in the second half. Look for the Chiefs to come out throwing the ball. Andy Reid is really, really, really good at coming off bye weeks, coming off extended time. Last year, the Lions suffocated them. So the game went under. Lions beat them. The same kind of spot here, but I think it's going to be a little different. I think the Chiefs are going to attack down the field. Not that Mahomes is okay with throwing interceptions, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a ball control. I think they need. I've been listening to him in the offseason, some of the interviews he recently did with Phil Simms, and he just expressed the desire that the ball's got to get down the field. They got to free up the underneath. Teams were pouncing on it last year. They didn't have the deep threat. They have it. I don't know how good this kid is. I don't think anybody really will know until we see it. But I expect more points from the Chiefs than maybe what the pundits or what the line suggests. I have a feeling that, especially in the first quarter, first half, there's going to be some big plays. Now, could those big plays go the other way? They certainly can, because the Ravens secondary is elite. You'd be hard pressed to find a better secondary. However, it's a rookie out there and I say that maybe by the end of the year, because it's still a couple rookies with Wiggins and TJ Tampa. Humphrey is, to me, the wild card. Him and Stevens, like what kind of growth did we see? Where's Humphrey at? Kyle Hamilton is, I mean, you can make the argument he's the best safety in football. How much of a difference is it without Mike McDonald and Anthony Weaver? Zach Orr takes over. Trenton Simpson comes in. There's a handful of, I want to see it. And I have a really good feeling the defense will be way better a couple months from now than tonight. It's really hard. It's ideal conditions, weather wise. Whereas, you play at the end of the year, teams are banged up. That style will favor the Ravens. But when everything's perfect, that's not necessarily ideal for the Ravens defense, right? They want to muddy up the game. They want to be able to put pressure. Just double checking the weather. It's going to be perfect tonight. What's it going to be? Kansas City. Yeah. 80 degrees. Perfect weather. So my gut tells me leaning towards the over and all the prop bets. I have a rule. I don't bet Ravens regular season games no matter what. That's just not happening. So not putting my money on anything. We'll see what Jay Martin Jack come up with. Curious, frankly, some of these Ravens. I really like reading. There's a lot of Ravens guys I like to read. There's plenty of them, but I want to make sure that I don't want to get anybody in any trouble, because it's a betting site. So before I shout out any names or anything like that, but there's tons of Ravens guys. A couple guys I'm actually really good friends with that cover the team. So anyway, I don't put my money on the regular season. I want to see what happens. I want to hear other people's thoughts. I've been consuming so much Ravens, just news and media. It's exciting because this feels like the year. I don't even think it really matters too much what happens tonight. But with Derrick Henry kind of going for the last ride, like I don't know how many years he has left, and Lamar hitting his prime, Roquan hitting his prime. Yeah, I wish that Derrick Henry was on this team last year, but whatever. Here we are, new year. Things happen for a reason. So we'll see what kind of adjustments are made. So when the Chiefs have the ball, I do expect them to be able to put up some points, unfortunately. Doesn't necessarily mean I don't think the Ravens can win, but I expect if the Ravens are going to win, the game's going to go over and the Ravens are going to have to score 30 plus. So let's flip it to when the Ravens have when the Ravens have the ball, I am dying to see what Monken wants to do. Like I think every Ravens fan is dying to see it because who knows? We haven't seen the preseason. Derrick Henry has been, with Tannehill, they had those read options a couple times in Tennessee. It was really dynamic. Tannehill's what, a tenth of what Lamar is as a runner. So how much does Lamar want to do that? Those RPOs and the quick dump offs to the tight end. I saw Likely's line today. It's like over 15 and a half receiving yards and 1.5 catches. Excuse me. That feels like a good bet right there. I like Likely a lot. You have to pick your poison with the Ravens. You have to, and Likely seems like the perfect guy to have a breakout year. I mean, he probably had a breakout year last year, but even a better year this year. The Chiefs are missing. The Chiefs had to lose. I guess their best corner, maybe their second best corner. They would tell you that McDuffie's their best corner, but L'Jarius Sneed is fantastic. He's out in Tennessee now, so they lose him. That's a big deal. But they do get Brian, I think it's Byron or Brian. I think it's Brian Cook, their safety, who was really good for them last year, who missed the championship game because of injury. A little bit of a wash there because they add one and lose one. But the same way, it's going to be hard for the Ravens to prepare for the Chiefs because they had so much time and the ideal conditions. I think likewise for the Chiefs. I think it's going to be hard for them to prepare for exactly what the Ravens want to do. It's no secret that the Ravens have a ton of different ways they can go. To me, it's about forming the identity, and the identity is just a short passing game and a dominant running game. The long, very similar to Lamar's first year. Remember that opening game against Miami where they would just throw those bombs to Hollywood because the defense would have 8, 9 guys in the box. That to me feels like Zay Flowers' role this year. Whether or not Bateman excels, to me, it doesn't really matter. That he's way down on the priority list. Let's just get the balls to the tight ends, run the ball. Justice Hill should be dynamic. Keaton Mitchell, when he comes back, should be dynamic. The key is going to be turnovers tonight. That's probably the key. You can say that about every game, but both teams, I think, are going to move the ball tonight. Red zone, from the 20s to the 20s, I think the ball gets moved. I think we see some big plays, but red zone offense, strip sacks, tip balls up in the air. This really does feel like a 50-50 game. So if you want to bet on it, all the power to you. Fantasy wise, I think it's good bets. I think prop bets wise, I'm going to lean towards the over. That's what I'll recommend. But yeah, in full transparency, I think what I'll probably do is do like a really big parlay, 6 or 7 teams for the whole week and throw the over in here. So I have a little bit of juice in it, just whatever, but it'll be like a $30-$40 bet for a parlay. I don't want to bet the Ravens for the regular season. We'll save it. I will, if they lose tonight, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. If they do lose tonight, I think there might be really good value depending on how they look to take their future bets tomorrow. So that's something I'm considering, but we can talk about this game forever. Let's see how it plays out. I'll be happy to break it down in the morning. And yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna touch on the Orioles for a second, and then, but I want to touch on the Orioles in one specific factor because I don't want to do a whole overview. Yesterday, I said that, and then I threw in more things I want to talk about. What I want to talk about with the Orioles is just compartmentalizing this weekend because you're getting Tampa coming this weekend, and Tampa doesn't beat themselves. So the way the White Sox beat themselves, they didn't beat themselves yesterday. And we can't rely on, I guess it was a little bit of fool's gold winning those 2 games the way we did after getting shellacked yesterday because the White Sox, just a really bad baseball team. So in retrospect, as much as I wanted to win yesterday, maybe it's not the end of the world. Maybe we needed one more refocus because they're off today. Every report was, or every guy got a good report on the injured list. So they're all headed back here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Whether or not, who knows what's going to happen. We'll break that down as we get there. but they have to win. They just have to win these games now. So yesterday, the positive spin is that that's got to be the last time they get their ass kicked like that and play baseball that's uninspiring. It's hopefully that's the wake up call and they come out and beat Tampa. But yeah, I think we can't rely on teams to beat themselves, and Tampa's just not going to beat themselves. They're out of it. The way the AL wild card is set up is it looks like the Red Sox and just tanked it out. They can't get it together. The Tigers tried to get some momentum, but looks like that's over with. The only drama really is the division race and the seedings. But looks like the six teams are set, and Tampa's not one of those teams. But they're gonna play inspired at least on Friday. Like they're not gonna just beat themselves and do a bunch of stupid things the way the White Sox did. So I'm hoping we play disciplined. We'll see exactly what happens here, but man, a little frustrating yesterday. At least the Yankees lost. The Yankees play early tomorrow. They're off again today. They're in Chicago. The Cubs are the NL wild card is really fascinating. The Mets and the Braves are battling for the last spot, but they're not too far behind the Padres and the Diamondbacks. And then the Cubs are lurking. So I think I said this yesterday. You're going to get your best performance from Chicago this weekend. Hopefully, it's enough to beat the Yankees. We'll see. And lastly, for a couple minutes here, so I'm not rambling about line movement all day long, but just as you're watching the Ravens line today, if it moves over under the, if it goes to 2.5 or 3.5, so I'm 1,000% clear. It's moving because money's being wagered on one side. At your book, whatever book you're using, they want to even out the odds. So when I talk about, ignore line movement, what I mean by that is ignore why it's moving. Don't think to yourself, is it sharp money? Is it a lot of bets? Is it some random guy? That's the part where I'm screaming, just ignore why it's moving. Don't worry about that because you don't know. And it's a waste of time. You can guess, someone's going to tell you they know, but they don't know. All that you know, all that we know as gamblers is that more money's coming in on one side. It doesn't mean anything, right? Doesn't mean that they are on to something or anything like that. It just means if you can try to guess, if you want to try to guess line movement for the purposes of getting the best line, go for it. My suggestion is buy the half a point, buy a whole point if necessary. But if you want to say to yourself, man, I think by the time the game starts tonight, there's going to be more money that's going to be wagered on the Chiefs. It might go up to 3.5 on its own. Then sure, you can have that thought. But if it goes up to 3.5 at a certain time, or the odds do this, or something happens, and you're trying to figure out exactly why that's happening, or like who's betting, or because a certain person bet the line move, that's a complete myth. That never happens. There's no scary person out there that when they bet that moves the lines. So happy to, I figured more people are listening today than they have maybe in the past. So as you go to make your bets today, just analyze the game. Analyze the game. Ravens, Chiefs, think about it. If the line's going to move, it's going to move. There's just a ton of money being wagered legally and illegally, which is the reason, as I've said before, you don't know why it's moving, what the purposes are. People are hedging bets all over the place. And secondly, no one has to be honest about it. That's the, like, when there's no accountability and there's no rules for somebody to be honest about something, then it just, yeah, it's like paying attention to the news and then saying they're lying and then getting upset about it. Well, you should know going into it. They don't have to tell the truth. Like that's not part of their requirements. I don't think they can curse on television, right? Like there's like slander, but they want to exaggerate the truth or use words in there that says allegedly or this, that, and the third to cover themselves. Whatever. My point is, you don't know, so you can't. It's not worth even thinking about. All that's worth it for these football games is to use your opinion on the game itself and what you think is going to happen, and hopefully you have a better opinion, and maybe that'll help go above 50%. You go 60%, please let me know on a consistent basis so I can just hire you and put you on. But 60% is like the gold standard. So we'll see if I can get there, see if you can get there. Good luck. One thing I will, I'm going to be in a survivor pool, so I'll have that pick out. Just so everybody knows, picks come, it's still kind of like it's a fluid situation. Like what I want is when the picks are ready for the NFL, whether it's myself, Jack, J Mart will put them out. Sometimes it'll be the day of, sometimes it'll be a couple days before. So whenever the picks are ready, they'll come out. Not gonna do things the last minute. If my rule is it's got to be within an hour. I don't want us to put bets out. Even if we have a random bet we're going to make 10, 15 minutes before the game, it's not worth it to put in the Telegram chat just so people miss it. Like, we want to give everybody a chance, even though Telegram's instantaneous. Yeah, so I'm finalizing all of my NFL bets. I'll have it out most likely tomorrow. So I don't want to overthink it. I don't think much is going to change, but just want to double check a couple things today. And that's that. So have a good day, guys. Again, yeah, good luck to everybody. If you need anything, here. All right, see ya.